I'm Isaki Voelker, creator and author of this channel. Today's next installment in the series, It's Not What It Seems, horror stories from their world and ours. Today's story is inspired by a true account. Something actually happened. I'm not doing words very well at this time. But anyways, today's story is a retelling of something that happened to me when I was about 16 to 17 years old. I have no idea what it was that I actually saw, but it was super early or super late at night, whatever you want to call it, and I woke up and I saw something right in front of my face. I have no idea what it was. If you have ever experienced something that you can't explain, please, by all means, share your experience down below. I would absolutely love to hear any of your tellings. If you believe in some things but not others, let me know. And let me know why. I'm not here to judge, and I hope you're not here to judge either. We're just here to be entertained and to ponder and to question the abnormality of reality. So, normally my stories are not based off of truth, but sometimes they are inspired by true tales. Today's telling is an accurate retelling of everything that I did experience during that experience. So nothing is made up this time around. It is all nonfiction, which means it is true. So let's get into it without any further ado. The Drowned Demon Woman. Darkness finally overcame me as I curled up in my twin-sized bed. It was summer, and I only had my worn-out dark purple velvet comforter to cover me. To my right was my pale wooden dresser with my lamp and jewelry on top. If I rolled to my left, I faced the side of my towering dark oak antiqued rolled-top desk. My room was a hodgepodge of leftover furniture from my childhood and my mother's boxes of miscellaneous things. It was small and dense, and I only had about 3 feet of unoccupied floor space because my mother refused to let go of anything. It never really felt like my room, especially since I wasn't allowed to get rid of my old things either. It made no sense. Home life was not home to me. I stopped using that word a long time ago. I felt like Rapunzel, trapped. I appreciated it when the air conditioner outside my door would turn on. It created a blanket of white noise that allowed me to escape the reality outside my door. I didn't want to keep hearing my mother and her partner, always so self-righteous in their religion, yet always arguing and being violent toward one another. The hypocrisy was a TV show worth making popcorn for, and I hated it. The hell I went through during the day was only bearable because I knew at night I would be safe and mostly left alone. I could escape reality and disappear into the wondrous lands of my make-believe dreams, filled with friends, anime characters, and made-up places. I was wedged between furniture in my tiny spot on my bed, surrounded by stuffed animals and plushies. The wall to my left held my window, which allowed me a lovely view of a large pine tree and some of the street that ran along the back of my apartment complex. Every now and then, I would get lucky and catch a hummingbird sitting down on one of the tree's branches. At night, I would draw the pastel purple curtains closed. I hated it when the sunlight would waltz in through the cracks and shine directly into my eyes. Ugh. Next to the chair was sometimes a round table and other times a large royal white wingback chair. I like to change it up. Tonight, it was the chair with a large mound of clothes piled onto it. They were wrinkled and had already sat there for a day or so as I slept peacefully. They were the least of my concern, as I barely had any closet space for myself. They could stay there a bit longer. I was still sleeping. Or was I? I don't know why, but I awoke from my slumber and opened my eyes to face my desk about a foot away from my nose. And between me and the desk was it. There was enough light in the room to see details on the thing that floated in front of me. I must have left my lamp on the dresser behind me because I saw it extremely clear. This feminine-like being. It lied on its side, mirroring me lying on my side in bed. The thing was both flat and three-dimensional. I could see it solidly, but I felt that I would not be able to touch it if I tried. It was right in front of my face in shades of muted dark grays and blues, much like the dusty, forgotten spirit of someone who had drowned. It floated and swayed just slightly, as though soft flowing water washed over it. This being had long, scraggly white hair that gave it the appearance of something very, very ancient. His hair wasn't well kept, but it wasn't a rat's nest either, and it wasn't pure white. The hair defied gravity and floated down the length of its body. Long, thin arms were kept straight at its sides. The skin was an almost translucent gray shade. It looked both dried out and moist. I imagined that if a mummy was soaked in saline water for a long time, it might appear like this. My eyes traveled back up to the face. It was there, but it wasn't there. Dark black holes, empty space like a vacuum. But still, I knew they saw me. I don't know how, but they did. The face felt like it belonged to a woman at one time, or a spirit who liked to take on feminine features. I could not tell if this thing had ever been alive like me, or if it had always known darkness and invisibility. I don't remember its mouth or nose. They lost their color in the watery depths and blended in with the rest of the face. It was horrifying, but still somehow forgetful. Like a shadow in the corner of your eye. You don't know the details, but you still know there's something to be leery of. Draped around his shoulders and down to where the legs and feet I assumed should have been, but did not see any, was a raggedy blue-gray dress. It must have been worn for many, many years, for all of its hemming was gone. Torn and frayed edges swayed in the unseen water. The collar was cut away and hung loose across her breastbone. Wisps of other material in more shades of blue and gray danced around its body. It did not move, but yet there was so much movement. The thing was about as tall as I was, just a couple inches over 5 feet. It looked like it should have been haunting a ship or the Bermuda Triangle, not visiting me in my 2-bedroom apartment in the middle of a desert. The nearest large body of water was a man-made lake less than 100 years old and about 30 miles from me. Surely it couldn't have come from there. This thing appeared much, much older, from a time I had imagined where ships were the main mode of transportation. Were there metal chain links wrapped around her? Were the chain ends flowing around its body mixed in with what once was a dress? I couldn't tell. Just like underwater, not every detail past the neck was discernible. I only glanced down for a moment, but it kept its face directly in front of mine and continued to stare at me. It did not motion to want to touch me or speak. It just floated. It just kept watching. The shadows and details protruding across this being's body confirmed for me that this thing was in fact real, that I was not still dreaming. Wait, I wasn't even dreaming before this. My mind was a blank, dark canvas of sleep. This thing should have caused me to scream with its blue veins discernible where the skin was bloated apart, but it didn't. In those few moments that this thing appeared before me, I didn't feel fear or panic. I felt calm and acceptance. I knew that was a bizarre reaction, but it felt right. I didn't feel I should feel any other way. Was it a lost soul asking for help? A demon come to torment a young person at night? Or was it a reflection of my fear of drowning? I do not know. This whole experience only lasted for a few seconds. I felt no urge to scream or run. I didn't want to touch it or speak to it. I knew my chair covered in clothes was far behind it. This thing was not a shadow or a trick of the light caused by the window. That was not possible. I closed my eyes and went right back to sleep. No thoughts, no fear. I felt inner calm and peace. I knew somehow to not be afraid of this thing and to just let it be. The next morning, I woke up as normal. A short time after waking up, I remembered that I saw something. Then, And only then, when I was fully aware and awake, I felt fear. That thing was right there in bed with me, less than 6 inches away from my face. I felt cold ice run through my veins. I stared hard at the spot where it was on my messy bed. The bright-ass sunlight gave my room a cheerful but cluttered feel. I was expecting it to appear, but nothing. Just silence. No one else was awake yet. I hopped on my laptop and opened my email and typed up a letter to my friend across the ocean and told them what I had remembered. I couldn't believe that I saw something. It had been years since something potentially supernatural happened to me. I never shared with my mother or her partner what I saw. I didn't need to be told I was possessed by a demon or needed to be prayed over by the hands of creepy strangers. I couldn't stand that, especially not the religious leader my mother followed because he was an active pedophile. I bared my secret alone, except for telling my one friend who lived in Newcastle in England. They believed me and said it could have very well been a real thing, or it could have been my mind still in dream mode, or who knows. I never saw it again, though. So, what do you think that was that I saw? It was so, I don't know, it had so much detail to it. And I've experienced a couple different things in my life. I experienced one very real thing that happened for 3 nights in a row to me when I was in elementary school. And I kind of had like other weird stuff happen throughout things, but I didn't see anything until I was in high school again, and then I saw this. I have no explanation for it. I have not seen anything like it again. The closest that I can get to a visual that you might have seen somewhere is if you look at Halloween decorations and you see those like ghouls hanging from whatever, you can hang them from something, and they're just like a piece of foam, and they have this long drapery of material, and they have like a head and hands, and it's got this wispy, torn up kind of raggedy stuff over it. It's a little bit like that. And as I said, this thing, it did not move, but the material and the hair and the possible chains that were around it they wavered like this, and they moved as if it was just floating in water. And it had no eyes. It was just these black holes that stared at you, and this thing felt so old. It's there's a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It was the 5th one, not the one with mermaids. I don't think it's the one where it's all the ghost pirates, not Davy Jones, not those creatures, but the ghost pirates later on. You see how they move and how they kind of look. That's a little bit similar to what I've seen, but this thing was terrifying. It was horrific. It appeared scary as heck, and I cannot explain how I felt when I saw it. I cannot give a reason of why I felt so calm when I saw it. I just opened my eyes, I saw it, I kind of looked at it, it registered in my brain, but not fully apparently. And then after I kind of looked at it for a good few moments, and then I closed my eyes and I went back to sleep. I have never had sleep paralysis. I have never had an instance where I wake up and I see something and then I go back to sleep. I've never experienced something like this again. So, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about this thing that I saw? Would you be afraid if you saw it? I mean, if I saw it again and it just appeared and I was awake and normal, I would definitely be startled by it. So, I don't know. Sometimes I guess the things that we see are not what they seem. I'll see you guys next time.